You got a little roller system for when you basket?
Yeah, I had that back surgery 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. I can't, it's hard on my thing, so I catch them. I'll show you inside. I catch them, make them load in the crates in the hall, and I can just drag those crates right at the edge of that and roll them down the back of my truck up here. Need to do some hair on the loft, but I can't get up there. This loft I built in 1986, and it's been built and torn up about 20 times.
Built and torn up?
Redone.
Gotcha.
When I originally built it, we flew classical, I flew widowhood, and we didn't have electronic clocks. We had pulled counter marks, which we did for years and years and years. And I flew true double widowhood. I flew widowhood cocks, I raced widowhood cocks and widowhood hens. And their mates, I had mates for each one of them. They were never flown or let out. The mates were always here when they came. And that's a great way to fly, but it just takes too many pigeons. And I finally just got where it done. But then, this aviary wasn't on this loft. And this loft was, I had big doors, and you can kind of still see the outlines of part of them before I cut these doors here. Just big 4x4 doors that open up like this. And when I clocked, I stood inside. My nest boxes were on this wall. I stood inside and looked out for the race birds. And when they came, we go right over your shoulder, and I just turned around and catch them off the perch and pulled the counter mark and clocked them. But they flew. That was what the open door. And that's the most beautiful sight you'll ever see. You see cocks that know what they're doing come and fold out there half a mile and just doing this and come fly right over your shoulder, and you just turn and pick him up. But we had to quit doing that when we went to the electronic clocks. So anyway, that was I guess it's my favorite way to do it. It was unbelievable. But I'll tell you a story. One time I had some Boy Scouts over here and wanted to see about pigeons, and we were racing and had those open doors, and it was a hard race, and we didn't know what time for sure they were coming, and they were here, so I didn't want to stand there in the doorway when them out there. So we went over and we sat down against the house and leaned our backs up to the house, and we're all watching. There was 5 Boy Scouts. We're watching the things, the doors, no birds. And finally, Bush Nix, a friend of mine, was flying over in Daingersfield. He called and said, "I finally got a bird. Gary, have you got one?" I said, "No, I ain't got anything." And I told those boys, I said, "Well, it looks like we got beat." And he said, "Oh, why is that?" I said, "That guy's got a bird." And he said, "Are you sure we don't have one?" I said, "Well, no, none of us seen a bird." He said, "Well, let's look and see." One of the boys just wanted to see. Came out here, and I had 2 birds in there, and they'd already fed and gone, sitting in the nest. And none of us saw them, but that's how they do. I mean, if you took your eye off of them for a second, it just took that long to come from there into this thing. But anyway, come on in, you'll watch it. And tell me what you want to do. I don't know. I'll just show you.
Give me the tour, like I've never been here before.
Hello, babies. That's one thing I do not jerk a door open. Those birds are standing right there. They don't know you're there. And I don't even know they may know you. You jerk that door open, it scares the dickens out of them. And I believe pigeons home because they like their home. They're home for a lot of reasons, but they'll give you that extra effort if they really like it. So I try to make them as comfortable as I can. Come on, baby. Now, this is my nest box section of my widowhood loft. And everything in my loft, most of the things in my loft now are built for my convenience, not for the birds. The birds don't care how fancy it is, as long as they got a dry, good ventilation. The temperature and all that doesn't bother them. What it looks like doesn't bother them. So most of this loft now is built for my convenience. We got wire floors, and that eliminates the problem about worms. I keep chickens underneath the wire floor just to pick up the spilled grain, so that mice don't get under there. And when I start seeing grain left on the floor, I quit feeding the chickens and make them eat it. Now, these nest box systems are something that's really nice. It's convenient, and there's a lot of benefits to it, but and again, it's more convenience. This is on a belt system. And you turn this belt on, and it rotates all the droppings down, drops them in a box down here. And every morning I come in, the benefits of it, and like I say, it's a lot of it's convenience, but there are some benefits. You can tell your bird's droppings every day. They each have a box. They know their box. And if I come in and I see droppings that are not right, I know which pigeon it is. It makes it real easy. And it's a good management tool if you take time to use it. This came from Europe, and they were importing them, selling them over here for a few years, and not now, I don't think. But anyway, these are my cocks. And during the racing, before the races, these nest boxes, I'll do like that, and they can come in and out there, and the hens are in here with them. These doors slide up and down like this. Like when I get ready to show in old birds now, I'll open these doors. Those cocks are going in that bowl. They know their hen's coming. Then you can let your hens in here, and they can show their cocks, and they don't get together unless you want them to. And then you can ship. So that's one benefit from it. Another benefit from it, there are 40 nest boxes in here. This pen I'm flying old birds out of, but I also fly young birds out of. I take the old birds out during young birds and put them in the individual pens, in another cage pen back there. But these boxes then will convert to two individual nest boxes. I have cardboard dividers that I put up here and staple them in there. So all of a sudden I can come in here and in 15 minutes convert these 40 nest boxes to 80 box purchase for young birds. I put a partition here so they can't see each other and fight each other. They rest better. But that gives them 80 box purchase for my young birds. So I fly young birds and old birds out of this same pen. This is an example of the dividers. I'm not using those lower nest boxes for. I don't like to fly a lot of birds. This is my watering system. It's real simple. Turn that jug upside down and it won't, water will only fill up to the level of that bottom. The problem is it's hard to find these glass jugs anymore. They're running out of them, so I'm going to eventually have a problem. Okay, now this. This is a hallway that comes in from my trap. You saw the trap from the outside. That's where they come in. My antenna's in there. And then they come in and come straight to this pen. And that's when I'm racing. Every time they come to this pen, because if I'm young birds, I'm flying in here. If I'm old birds, I'll let them trap in here when they come in. My clock is right here underneath. So I can.
Tell us when the last race you won.
I won the race last week. I don't even know for sure how far it was.
About 250 miles.
Okay, something like that. But that's the first one I won this season too. This trap system, I can hold those bobs up, but I let them out. This is the way I let the birds out. make them go out here. Then they have to come back in up there. That's where my rollers are. This hall is where I catch my birds. I'll get rid of the ship. I set the crates down in here, open them up. And of course, this door will be shut. And I use hooples. Now, hello, baby. Right now, these side pins are holding my young birds. This is my young birds.
Some good looking competition.
We got too many of this, so
Hawks are going to pick off a few.
yeah, the lighter colored ones, they sure do.
How many you got this year?
So far, I've got 60 young birds in here. I want to raise a few more. I always say that. I end up raising more than I want. I'm trying not to have over 70 or 75. I'd like to have 40, but I haven't got the guts to cut my breeders down to do that. And my problem is, I'll cull hard, but I can't shut them off from breeding. I keep thinking, oh, I should have put this pair together, or this one, and I end up breeding more and more. And now this. This is how I load them in the crates. I've loaded them in this pen. I set these crates down in here.
Where'd you get that?
I made it. It's a fish net.
Okay.
And I just drilled holes and made them. And they're real good to dry the birds in. Once the birds, they get used to them. I leave them hanging in here so they see them all the time. It's not something new to them. And I use those hooples. I set those crates in here and run the birds in here, and I slide this door back behind me where they can't get out of here. And so, in the first time or two I load young birds, it's a rodeo. You get them in there and they come out, they go in and they come out, but you finally get what you can, shut the door, and then you catch them one at a time, but you put them in there, they learn that crate's not gonna bother them. And I can load them just like that, the old birds. Now, this section you just looked at has 2 pins in it. There's an identical section on this side that has 2 pins. Now, this is where I keep my hens, my racing hens. The birds I just let out were in this pen right here.
Okay.
When they trap in, with this trap system, I can go this way, I can go that way, I can go whichever pen I want them to go in. Get back in here. Get out of here. And these are identical pens. Long story behind this loft. I don't know if you can see this, but those are louvers, those doors right there, lower on top with these ropes.
I see.
They'll lower them down. The only time I use that is when I'm, and the same thing on this other side, the only time I use that is when I'm running lights on my young birds, so the lights don't keep my old birds awake.
Gotcha.
And I have to do that to seal it up. I mean, to shut the dark so the lights don't mess up the molting on my old birds. It's only for the young birds. I'm going to show you something about this loft. It's an exercise in futility. When I built this loft, I had studied in all my life what little information we could get out of Europe was that their lofts were very tight and that they could seal them off real tight to keep the warmth and all that. I didn't realize that they're flying a totally different latitude than we are. I mean, it's unbelievable the things we know now that we didn't know for years. And when I finally got the opportunity to go to Europe, I woke up and realized that's exactly opposite of what we need here. The heat's what hurts our birds here because it gets so hot. This loft was built to face north, which is not right. But I did it on purpose, knowing it wasn't right. But I wanted to be able to sit on my sunroom out there and watch the birds come home. We didn't have electronic clocks. You sent a 500, you might watch for 2 or 3 days. And if you weren't there to watch your bird come in or clock him, you didn't win the race. And that wasn't going to happen to me. I'd sit out there and watch for them. So anyway, when I built this loft, I did a lot of things that are not unbelievable. I want you to look at the thickness. This is all over this loft. Roof, sides, everywhere except this floor. That's 3 layers. Plywood, insulation, plywood. Because I was sealing it up. And my theory was I was going to make it draw, create the ventilation up like this. That's a waste of time and money for people now. It's just a waste of time and money. And like I said, these Averys weren't on here, and I had big open doors that just opened. That's how we flew. And that's still my favorite way to fly. But I can use these things if I want to transfer birds without those cocks in those hens. I can run the hens out in the Aviary, and there's doors out on the Aviary. I can run them out this way and run these in here. I can transfer birds. So it's built to be
user-friendly.
Try to. And the other thing I want to show you right here. It's all about users. Both of my lofts have sinks in them. I made them with sinks and running water. I can't tell you how many hours.
Oh, it makes it nice and easy.
Oh,
I wish mine had a sink.
That is something that if you fly pigeons as long as I have, there's many a day filling water jugs and bent over and all that right here. Now this was a chore to figure this thing out, so I could slide doors and have to do this, and this door has to slide it all the way open. Has to go back to there where I get full room here. But anyway, and like I say, I've spent many hours rebuilding and redesigning the lofts, but I think it really is important for somebody that's going to get into pigeons to go look at different lofts and get some ideas. And the most important thing I'd tell people is think about what kind of system you want to fly. If you're only going to fly natural, and that's all you want to fly, you don't need these separate pins and all that stuff. You can fly out of one pin. But if you're going to try to fly a widowhood, or if you ever think you might, build your loft where you can do it, have that capacity. And I've got lights in here on timers that I can put timers on, lights, if I need to come out here at night to feed, but also I fly lights to control the molt on the young birds. Color's red, but you won't see very many reds in there. I haven't had very many red good ones. But those droppers are an essential part of my racing program. And the droppers I used to throw up in the air when the racing birds come. If they're nervous and won't land, they see that dropper. If you throw him at the right time, and he won't fly. He'll just fly down onto the landing gear. It'll pull those racers right after.
You said your favorite is red?
My favorite's red. And there's a story behind that. First pair of homing pigeons I ever got, guy from New Jersey. His name was Willeford Freeman. Had an ad in the Racing Pigeon Bulletin for racing pigeons. He's going into the military, going into the Army. And I was a kid, and I wrote him asking how much he would charge me for a pair of birds. And I guess he could tell I was a kid. He sent me a thing back and said, if you'll pay the freight, I'll send you a pair of birds free. So I picked up soda pop bottles and sold soda pop bottles for a long time and got enough money to pay the freight. He sent me 2 pigeons, a pair of pigeons, a blue bar hen and a red check cock. And all he did, he said, leave them, shut them up for a while and then turn them out one at a time and they should stay. Well, I didn't even know what a trap was or anything else. But anyway, I let the cock out one day and he got up, I lived in Garland, he got up and made 2 circles and headed northeast. As far as I knew, the circle went back to New Jersey, and I was convinced of that. I wrote his mom letters and said, please, did my bird get back? And she finally wrote me a letter back, and she said, Millard's gone, all his birds are gone, there's nothing here, thing. So anyway, that was a red pigeon. And from then on, my favorite pigeon was red. But my interest is in racing pigeons. I don't care what color they are, I want to see them fly. And I've had some red ones through the years. I've only had one or two, not any real special red pigeons, but I've had one or two that were good. One of them just got killed this year, and it was a young one. But anyway, I've gotten some red blood from CBS, the red cannibal line, that is showing some promise. So I keep putting a few reds in. Tell you about that box.
Gary's got an interesting trap set up. So he can't climb up there to open the door. So he's got it rigged so he can open it from the ground.
Lock them out right there. Lock them out right there. We'll get ready for them to come in. I just pull that. Everything I do is set up for me. And that opens the trap. The flag tells them they're supposed to stay up and fly. The reason I put that box up there is for just that. Like I had a race one day and I had several birds on the drop, real good ones. And they dropped and I climbed up there trying to, before I put the doors on the side. No, I had the doors on the side. I climbed up there to try to shoo them in, make them go on in. And just as I did this, a hawk hit right over my shoulder on top of the birds. Every one of them but one went phew. The other one dove through that hole. And I won the race with that one bird. But I'd have lost the race if I hadn't, because all those others flew off and that hawk terrified them. But anyway, the point is, if they mess around out here, I get on them with this pole and I run them in that door and then I can shut that door behind them.
Gotcha.
And I got that from Rick Morris.